Welcome. This is Chris, and this is Barnum 11970, and I'm glad to see there are already people here waiting with eager anticipation, getting ready to learn a little bit about quote-unquote waking up. Now, I want this to be something that is extremely interactive. So whether you're watching this live or you watch it days or weeks later, I want to start getting some dialogues. I want people to start communicating with one another. So anytime you have an opportunity, come to this video, go in the comment section, talk about a little bit about your story, talk about what waking up, quote unquote, has done for you, good and bad. Get to know people, because especially if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll start to see the same people coming back time and time again. And the more we get to communicate with one another, the more we can help each other. So I want this to become a dialogue. I want this to be something that's interactive. So I'm going to start this out by sharing a little bit of my background, especially because I've gotten so many new people, and welcome to everybody, whether this is your first video or your 10,000th video that you've watched of mine. I want to give a little bit of a history and then tell you some of the good and the bad, because, I mean, with anything in life, there's going to be good and bad. So I hope you will sit back, enjoy this, and when it's over, come back time and time again, get to know the people that are leaving comments, tell your stories, and especially if you've been around for a while, help the people that are just, quote unquote, waking up. Help them guide through it, because it is like anything in life, a process. Now, when it comes to the term waking up, basically what I'm talking about is going from your normal everyday life that you've been programmed, going to school, putting your money in the bank accounts, watching mainstream media television all the time and believing everything that you're told, believing that your governments will always be there to help you. That's something we've all been programmed all our lives. And then for some reason, and each person's story is different, we start to learn that the things that we've been told are either not accurate or flat out lies. And the more we dig into this and the deeper we go into the quote unquote rabbit hole, the more aware we become that things are not always as they seem. Now, like the loss of a family member or a friend or a loved one, you can go through a lot of mixed emotions when it comes to this stuff. And in the beginning, like anything, it's going to be the most difficult. So if you're just watching one or two videos where all of a sudden you're learning things that you didn't think about before, or they contradict your belief system, and all of a sudden you get that curiosity, you're on the first step, and it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. So I want to first start out with a little bit of my background of how I got started in this, and then we'll go over some of the good and bad things, and if you want to share your stories, either on the live chat right now, or when the video uploads later, again, I want this to be a dialogue. So don't be afraid to speak out, because it may bring people together, and unity is something we need more of. So to give a little history, I had another channel before this one. It was still called Bar None. There were just a couple of different numbers, and I started back in 2010. Now, this is during the time when I was watching things like MSNBC. I considered myself a Democrat. I loved the Yankees with a passion. I was, at the time, really into my DJing and lead singer of a band. I was a partier. I drank 4 or 5 times a week, and it's not because I was an alcoholic, but because when you're a DJ and when you're in a band, especially band practice, you just did a lot of drinking. It was just something that happened. But my house was the party house. I believed when Obama became president that, they were going to heal the world and this was going to be the change we're looking for. I was asleep. My first experience with YouTube in 2010 is I was just making like cartoonish kind of videos. I forget the name of the program, but there was a computer program where it would be cartoon images where you just type in and you could make your own little kind of movies. And I was making these like comedy kind of things based on um, my DJ business. And the videos, I mean, there was maybe 5 views, maybe 10 views. I had one called Life of a Karaoke DJ. I wonder if it's still out there. I think I reposted it at one point. So if you see like a cartoonish Life of a Karaoke DJ, It might be mine, so maybe somebody copied it, I don't know. But it ended up the first 3 or 4 months, no views, hardly. No one cared. So I was like, you know what? What can I do to get people's attention? Because at that time I was new to YouTube and I wanted to see, what I could do to get people to actually want to pay attention. So between the years of 2006 to 2000, well, continuing from there, but starting around 2006, I started getting into collecting numismatic gold and silver coins. Now, I knew nothing about the corruption. I knew nothing about what was going on in government and what was the manipulation with gold and silver and real money. I knew nothing about that. At the time, and I still am to this day, I'm pretty much an insomniac. So I was always up until 2 or 3 in the morning. And when you watch TV back then, there's not much on. So I would watch the Home Shopping Club networks. And all of a sudden, I started seeing the coin channel. And when I was a kid, I used to collect coins. So it piqued my interest. And I started buying like MS-70 gold and silver coins just for the fun of it and for the eventual investment purposes of them. And I remember I bought my first gold coin. I remember buying it, I forget what company I bought it from, but it was a 1/10-ounce gold coin. It was graded by ICG, which I don't recommend at this point, but it was MS-70, and I paid at the time for this 1/10-ounce coin $90. And I remember getting it in the mail, and I was so disappointed. I'm like, I just spent $90 on this tiny little thing because it was only 1/10 ounce of gold. Now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have bought a lot more of them because who wouldn't want to buy a 1/10 ounce gold coin for $90 at this point? But I really got addicted to it. I even I joined the U.S. Mint website, and I used to buy the Silver Eagles, and I was paying about $20 to $25 a piece for them back in the days. Now this was, for the proof coins. Still have them in the original boxes, and I really started getting to the numismatic. So my first video into this beginning of this realm was talking about gold and silver coins. As a matter of fact, I re-uploaded that video here. So it was probably about a year or two ago, but if you look, you can actually see what was technically my first gold and silver video showing on my mattress the coins that I had at that point. And pretty much most of them were all graded coins and things of that nature. So I got into it just for the collection purposes, and I loved collecting coins as a child. So then all of a sudden I started getting more and more views, and I thought this is cool, so I started talking about gold and silver. Now back then I knew nothing about this stuff. Then I started reading the comments, and they talk about how silver was manipulated, and how gold was manipulated. Then people started talking about how the government was manipulated, and it caught my attention. I was like, well, why are people telling me this stuff? I was totally naive to this stuff. And then I was a lot more trusting then than I am of people now, unfortunately. But I gave out my phone number to this one person because they kept messaging me and they said, listen, I want to talk to you about a whole bunch of stuff it seems you're not aware of. And I always, like they say, you never forget your first. And I'll just use the initial J, that this person called me and we talked for about 2 to 4 hours. And now I went from knowing none of this stuff to all of a sudden 4 hours worth of him talking about trusts and government problems and all these legal definitions and all this corruption. And I was just blown away by it. But I was hooked. And I started learning more and more. And in the beginning, you go through all these different stages. So that's kind of how my career with this started. It started with cartoons. Then I just started showing some of my coins that I was collecting. And then all of a sudden, thanks to some of the subscribers, they started educating me on things, and I started learning what was going on. And that's when I officially became in the beginning stages of waking up. And that was roughly around April of 2011. And I haven't gone off that wagon ever since. And when you are just waking up, no matter how you start waking up, you're going to go through a lot of different feelings in the beginning. And let me tell you something, I can totally understand now why some of my followers back then, whether they were haters or whatever, thought I must have been crazy. Because in the beginning, it's kind of like somebody taking a puzzle that you don't know what it is, and taking the puzzle pieces and just throwing them up in the air and scattering all over the place, and you have to figure out what that is. It'll drive you crazy. Now just imagine if they scattered it all over the world and didn't even tell you there was a puzzle that you were supposed to find. This is how easily we can be controlled, because you cannot search for something you don't know about. I mean, I've used this example. If you were born and on the day of your birth, your parents give you up for adoption, and somebody adopts you the next day, and they never tell you that you were adopted, how many days would you spend looking for your real parents? You wouldn't spend the day, because you didn't know they existed. So how do you search for something you didn't even know was there? And that's the biggest thing that we start learning about the control, is it's not only the lies that they tell you, but what they don't tell you. And that is why I always talk about, when you listen to legal definitions and you listen to words, you look up, you hear the word history. I hear it as his story, because the winner of the war can tell the tale. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the truth, because they can make up whatever they want, because if you kill the people on the other side, well, they can't argue it or dispute it. So it's his story of what happened. So the negative side effects you're going to experience, especially if you are new to this, is you're going to be angry and paranoid and scared, because there's so many different ways you can go depending on what videos you see first or what you research. I mean, if you learned from Alex Jones, you're going to be paranoid as hell in the beginning. You're going to be scared. You're going to think everybody's out to get you, and you're going to die at any moment. You could lose a lot of family and friends. I mean, I've had a lot of people, they was like, oh, here goes Chris talking about that crazy conspiracy stuff again. And especially in the beginning, when you don't know where you're supposed to, what road you're supposed to follow, you're going to want to believe everything. It's like a kid in a candy store. All of a sudden, you have all this availability, and you don't know what's true anymore, because you first learn, okay, we've been lied to. Now, how do we know what's really the truth? And that could be very frustrating. Other negativities is, especially if you start speaking the truth, you're going to be attacked, sometimes even physically. I've had death threats from people. But you'll be ridiculed, insulted, ignored, and it could make for a very isolated and alone feeling. There are plenty of people in this quote-unquote truther community that are very isolated and alone. And it happens to all of us. I've been there. I know what that's like. And let me tell you something. It takes a very strong person to be able to survive alone. So I give credit to anybody that can do it, because it's very easy to live life happily and confidently when you have hundreds, if not thousands, of people around you. It doesn't take any effort, because you have them to lift you up. But if you end up isolated and alone, and you could still manage to get through the day, that shows true inner strength. So never forget that. Never see negative as always bad. See it as an inspiration. See it as a learning tool. Because there were times I was very much alone, and I had nobody to talk to. But I searched in my own self and learned to love myself and trust myself. And then benefit and good things followed from that. And that is why I am so independent, and why so many people in this community, after a long while, become more independent and don't rely on the government as much, because you're almost literally forced to be alone because of all the people who will desert you. And basically, I look at it as, it's like going out and playing as a kid and you get all dirty. Well, sometimes you just got to wash away the dirt so you can be clean. So I look at all the people that were supposedly my friends, or supposedly said they cared about me, who deserted me, were people that I really did not need in my life. And like they say, for every new beginning comes from somebody's beginning's end. So something has to end for a new thing to begin. And sometimes you will no longer relate to maybe a loved one, or a friend, or a coworker. And that's okay. You let them go to see what's coming new. So they can be emotionally exhausting and emotionally draining, because all of a sudden you care more. And these are some of the good benefits. I mean, you notice after a while, now it does take a while, Once you get through the fear stages and you get to different levels, because even waking up, think of it like school. You're going to have your kindergartners who are just starting out, and then you're going to have your college graduates, all the way to the point of the people who eventually teach. So there are so many different stages. So if you're at the stage where you're still paranoid and angry and frustrated, that just means you have more room to grow. Once you let go of that anger, there are so many benefits. I mean, look at the things that I find with people that are here for the right reasons. They become more compassionate. They care about more than just themselves. They love animals. They love the planet. They love helping one another. They tend to sing more. They tend to be, the type that would rather hug a tree than shoot an animal. Those are beautiful things. And with compassion comes love and caring and emotion. These are things that when you are very compassionate, you have feelings. That is why people in these movements that get to that level tend to be hurt so much when other people try and hurt them. But if you see the positive of that from that, it means that if you're feeling hurt, it means you could feel and you can care. So be very glad that somebody's nasty words or nasty comments or ridicules make you feel. Because how many people in this life, like somebody can go out and you say, oh, I'll give you $10,000 to murder somebody, and they go and do it, no problem. Those are people who have no feeling. I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. So for me, having feelings, there's good and bad in everything. But it means you would rather save an animal than hurt an animal. And you feel when an animal suffers or your fellow man suffers. So that's a beautiful thing. You develop more compassion. You start to grow more as a human being. You start to learn bigger things, things that are more important. You start worrying less about the almighty dollar and how you have to get to work and you have to, place your votes. You start worrying more about the environment and caring and all these other things, which some people may think is soft and silly, but I mean, how are we ever supposed to get closer to a utopian world if we all want to hurt one another? So you lose a lot of the anger after a while. Now, it's not always easy. I mean, like any volcano, a volcano can be quiet for centuries and all of a sudden erupt. So we do have our moments, so I have them, you'll have them. Other benefits are, I mean, I've noticed that people, they don't watch as much mainstream media TV. All of a sudden, that control is not the same as it once was. I I got rid of my cable over 2 years ago. I mean, I have things like Netflix and Hulu, and I watch mostly YouTube, but I don't worry about watching mainstream media news and their propaganda anymore. I'm not influenced by it. It's not as important to me. And I notice a lot of people are getting to that way, that they're just losing that interest. They'd rather watch a YouTube video than to pick up a newspaper. Um, Eventually, you start to lose your fear and you're not as scared. And I see a lot of people are still stuck from that happening. They're worried about things like FEMA camps and nuclear war, and they don't realize how much power they have in themselves. And you create your own reality based on your thoughts and feelings. And I hope people get to that point, because let me tell you something. When I got that death threat, the second one, the major one, where somebody said they took a hit out for my life, there was a contract out on my life, I was very angry, because I was like, even if that was fake, the detail and the effort that somebody put in to try and scare me like that really hurt. And it took me a week to really set back into my regular routine. But then I realized I have control over my life, and nobody has permission to take my life away. And when you realize you have more control, you lose the fear. And that's why when I talk about gold and silver, you ever wonder when I said that, I could have easily said, rather be 10 years too early or 10 seconds too late, or better to be 1 year too early than 1 second too late. I always used to say better to be 5 years early than 5 years too late. Well, I started saying that in 2011. Right now it's 2016, and look at all the events that are starting to happen. And as a matter of fact, if you look at gold right now, gold is up almost $23 today. Silver is back up over 20. It's up 55 cents right now. So they're starting to make their moves. You know, people were saying, oh, we see a drop again. It was just a correction because it went down to about 18 and change. And people are up, here we go. And it's rising back up again. So that means it's just testing the market, and that's healthy. But I know either before this year's over or the next year or two, we're going to be seeing prices that we've never seen before. So I trust in my instincts, and I tell people, trust your instincts more. Believe in yourself even when other people don't believe in you. Um, you definitely learn more about yourself. I mean, I've learned more about who I am as a human being in the past 5 years than I have my entire life because I started caring about what I do, what I put in my mouth and eat and drink, and what I research and what I listen to. And I've learned to become more independent. And you will start to get that way as well. You become more independent and self-sufficient. And that's what governments throughout history don't want. They don't want people to think on their own and be sufficient and take care of themselves, because then they cannot profit off of your labor and your hard work and your fear. You know, you start to realize that some of the things that you once cherished are not as important to you as they once were. And this is what inspired me to make this video. There was a subscriber. His name is Sovereign Humanoid, and I'm glad he made this comment. And he's talking about how he was an Orioles fan and how much it meant to him. And now he no longer really cares about it the same way anymore. And it's something that we see, because like I said, I was a diehard Yankee fan. And now I could care less what they are. I mean, I used to know every player in the team. Now I could care less. It doesn't mean as much to me as anymore. You know, some of the music I used to listen to, and some of the comedians and like movies, it used to mean so much. Now I'm like, you know, if my wife says we want to go to the movies every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, why not? You know, okay. You know, it'll give us something to do together. But I'm not like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see. It's gonna be the greatest thing, and I'm so excited. It's just the things become more important, like your family, your friends, your future. So you can really benefit from that. You definitely become more prepared for events. You know, like when it comes to simple things like just a storm, like we were supposed to have a tropical storm. I mean, it hasn't arrived yet. I've been waiting for it. They've been saying for days that it was going to be raining and highly high winds, and we have a little bit of a breeze. But the best part is, because I store things like food and water, because of the things I've learned, even if all of a sudden we had a flat out hurricane and the power goes out for a week or two, I'm well prepared. So people in this lifestyle of waking up, you become more prepared for just the minor things, let alone some of the major things. So it helps you if there ever was some kind of really severe, even to the point of a quote-unquote zombie type apocalypse, if it ever got to that extreme, which it won't, but if it ever did, how many more people in this community would have a better chance than the people who are watching, you know, mainstream media and just going along like nothing matters? It gives us a better opportunity. I mean, you think better. You start using your brain, because instead of being told how to think, you start to research and learn. And your brain is like any other muscle. If you don't use it, you lose its capacity. So you become smarter, you become wiser. Because the difference, when you go to school, you're educated. In other words, you're told how to think. When you start to think for yourself, you become wise. Wisdom comes from experience. And there's a huge difference between being educated and being wise. Because being educated means you're just a lapdog. You've been told how to think. Wisdom is finding it out for yourself. I mean, you could read books all about war. You can have plenty of people teaching you what war is all about, and they could be very smart about it. But until you experience and are in a war yourself, you'll never know some of the things that they cannot teach, because it's based on your experience. They could tell you how bad it is to see a fellow soldier die in front of your eyes, but you'll never experience how that feels until you've seen it happen. So one of the bigger things is you will become more wise, and trust your wisdom. Learn from your mistakes. Respect your choices and know in an infinite universe there are infinite possibilities. There is no one direction other than the band. You can only end up in one direction if you believe that's the only way to go. Because in this universe you have so much freedom that you have the freedom to think you have no freedom. You will always get your truth. So if your belief system is, I can only go in this one direction, well, you're getting what it is you believe. So think about how powerful you are. You are so powerful that you can actually create a universe that says you're restricted to one way because that's what you believe. Once you change that belief system, things will get better. And that's why I'm not afraid of what's coming. There could be some bad situations, but they're not going to happen to me. And they're not going to happen to the people that realize they have control. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, there's going to be a nuclear war. It's going to hit everywhere but my house, and I'll still have cable TV, and everything will be wonderful. No, it's not like that. But what I'm saying is, if there's a bad situation, it doesn't always mean that it has to affect you. Because they're out to scare you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember 2 years ago, the Ebola outbreak? How they tried to scare the living daylights out of you? Where is it? When was the last time they talked about Ebola? Did it just drop off the face of the earth? Or did they just find something better to scare you with? And that's what it's all about. So another benefit is you become a lot healthier. Before I quote unquote woke up, I drank soda like there was no tomorrow. I would go to McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or any of these fast food places, get the large extra value meals with the diet soda, because we were told, oh, diet soda is really going to help you. And I would literally eat it 2 to 3 times a day, every day for years. Because especially in my lifestyle of being a massage therapist, a karaoke DJ, and a lead singer of a band, I never had a time to sit down and have a sit-down meal. I was always eating in my car. My car was my dining room. And I was eating horribly, and I was way overweight. And thanks to my wife, who's a vegan, and researching all these different things, there are two things I drink now, pretty much. Either water, which is non-fluorinated water, because we have a fluoride-removing filter, or I drink almond milk. 95% of the drink that I have now is the water. I don't eat the garbage I used to eat. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm not a vegan like my wife. I am definitely closer to a vegetarian than a vegan. But my life, I just feel healthier. I used to get sick all the time. When I learned about sun gazing, I haven't been in a hospital since then. So what I want to tell people is there's going to be good and bad with everything in life. But remember, the bad is always a learning lesson to help you if you learn from it. And never forget you have the choice. And right now we're coming up to what I feel is going to be a very crucial time in our lives. For whatever reason, and people can say it, even people that don't believe in this stuff, because, belief is irrelevant. They're saying there's something in the air. They're feeling something. When you're feeling something, like I said, your reality is controlled by your feelings. Whether you believe in it or not is irrelevant, because like I said, if your feelings are you don't believe it, well, you're going to get confirmation of your belief. That's how much control you have. That's the irony of it. That you will actually be given your belief system of not believing. That's why you're always seeing the things that you're seeing if you're somebody that's here for a negative reason. And that's why you'll see some of my haters and trolls. They're the same as they were 5 years ago as they are today. Still the same angry people that think about the same things. They don't grow. And that's the difference between a stream and a pond. People that stay stagnant are like a pond. They become mucky. They don't go anywhere. They're filled with gook. They're cloudy. A stream is always crystal clear. Why? Because it's flowing. It's always moving. It's experiencing different things. So don't be afraid of this. We always see the negative. If you burn your hand on the stove, is that negative? Yes. But if you learn from it, you never do it again. So in this waking up process, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be angry with you or no longer talk to you or want to hurt you or want to insult you. It only affects you if you allow it. And trust me, I know what that's like. Back in 2012, I wanted to fight one of the people that to this day still stalks me. And that person still wants to instigate fights. When I can really give two you-know-whats about that person. And I wish them well. I hope they grow up, a 40-year-old man. But you can't control what other people do. You can only control what you do. So even when I was waking up back in 2012, I wanted to get into fights. I was very angry. I was very defensive. I didn't know the things I know now. And now, yeah, I can get angry every now and then. I might even get frustrated every now and then. And every now and then I might even get depressed. But I don't dwindle on it anymore. I don't harp on it. And I learned that I do have the control. Sometimes you just got to take a deep breath and say, you know what? Like they say, this too shall pass. So what I want people to do is I want you to talk to one another. I want you to get to know one another. Go to each person's profile that you talk to. See what they're all about. Get to learn from people in the community. Because if you're alone, you don't have to be. If you're lonely, you don't have to be. If you're scared, you don't have to be. It's a choice. It's not always an easy choice. It's not always one people want to willing to admit is a choice. But you'd be amazed at how much power that you actually have if you let go of the programming and the conditioning. And that's one of the biggest things about waking up. It's the hardest thing to do. Old habits die hard, but they can still die if you let them go. It's like a saying when it comes to animals. You could lock up an animal in a cage and say you own it. But you know that the reason that you have to keep it in a cage is because you know that if you ever set it free, it would disappear and never come back. So did you really control it? Did you really own it? True ownership, if you want to think of it in that way, is having an animal that you could let outside and it always wants to come back. And you don't really own it. You're sharing with it. Like my 3 cats, I love them to death. All 3 are strays that I saved. My wife have helped me to save. And I appreciate them. And they stay here because they choose to. They're not controlled. And that's the problem in this world. There are people, especially in government and in power, they feel the need to control you by putting you in a cage, metaphorically speaking. Freedom is the freedom to do whatever you want, provided you're not hurting other people. And even in a freedom, you could technically do that. But there's a saying that I've lived with, and it's not always easy, but I try and live with this as much as I can. And this is the saying that I would always say in my life. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And once you get to a different level of waking up, you realize that you are limitless. You could rise above everything. And if you're not there yet, strive hard to get there. Because trust me, I've been where a lot of you are. Very angry, very scared, very paranoid, believing and trusting in everyone. And at the same time, not believing and not trusting anyone. Not knowing where to go. All I can say is, don't rely on others to tell you how to live your life. You can listen to people's advice and take from it what you can. But always trust your instincts and know that you are endless in your choices. And Jason Tapa says, it's so sad, some people are asleep, they just don't want to know the truth. Well, because they've been told all their lives that ignorance is bliss. Well, who do you think taught them to think that way? The people who benefit from you being ignorant. And Kane says this is fake. What about it is fake? All right, let's give him his 13 seconds of fake. Earth is ball. Okay? Can prove to me the Earth is a ball other than what you've been told. Now, I don't know if the Earth is. We're just going to use this as a typical thing. Being awake, you're going to have to deal with people like this. So, Khan, you say this is fake. We're not even talking about the Earth. So let's give him his moment to shine. Now, we're not even talking about the Earth. So you say Earth is the ball. Now, show me proof of that other than what you've been told. Have you been in outer space to verify it? So, because see, when you get to a free thinking ability, you don't always know the truth, but you don't always assume that only one version of the truth is out there. So do I know, and let's get into the subject a little bit, the Earth could either be flat or it could be round. I don't know either way because I've never left the planet to be able to see far enough away to see. Now we're relying on people that have videos. How do we know they're not fake? How do we know what's real? So, Khan, I understand that you want to be programmed, but unless you've left the planet and verified it yourself, you are regurgitating what somebody else has said. Now, they could be lying, they could believe what they say to be true, or it could be the truth. You don't know. So, Khan, can you prove to me that the Earth is a ball? Please do. Because I would love to know either way, and that's the thing about waking up is you don't always have the answers, but you don't always just believe what has been told, and you start to question things. So when I talk about anything, like, for example, whether the Earth is round or the Earth is flat, I don't know. And I'm okay with saying that. And if you sit there and say, oh, I know the Earth is round, prove to me you know, other than what people have told you. The same thing with religion. Everything in religion you've learned because you've been told it. I seriously doubt people wake up one day from their slumber and see God or Jesus or Buddha or Ares or Satan or whoever they worship sitting next to them and saying, hi, I'm the God that I want you to believe in. I just wanted to introduce myself. Hello, my name is such and such. Where do we learn these things? From other people. Now, Dicer says, have you checked out Thunderbolt's project on YouTube? I have not. I will have to look into that, so I can't really give any thoughts on it. But if it's a theory, remember, what is a theory? A theory is a best guess. Because if it wasn't a theory, it would be a fact. That's why things like the Big Bang, it's not called the Big Bang fact, it's called the Big Bang theory. Evolution, it's not the facts of evolution, it's the theory of evolution. So it seems Khan wanted to leave his 3 little comments and not really come up with anything else. So, Khan, you can believe what you want, but if you want to spend your life being told how to think, how can you ever say you are free from wherever you are? So all I'm saying is, you're not going to always have the answers. Sometimes you may never get them. But if you're afraid to question things or just assume because somebody else said something that they are correct, you are hoping that the trust you put in that person is going to give you what you want. And that's why I tell people all the time, in this corrupt system, we continually put our trust in people who time and time again have been proven to not want to really help us other than what they say. You ever wonder why you never really see a president or any politician until they need your votes? And Khan says, so aliens. What about you know the aliens? I'm assuming you're not from the United States with your choppy English, which is fine. Again, we're not talking about aliens, and I've never met one, so are you referring to illegal aliens that come in from other countries, or are you referring to extraterrestrial beings? My response is that in an infinite universe with infinite possibilities, there is always the possibility that there has to be something other than just us. But because I've never met one, I can't say for sure. So it could be a lie, it could be the truth. I don't know. And that is the difference between somebody who's woken up and somebody who's easily programmed, is somebody could make up a story that sounds plausible, and you will accept that as the only possibility. So that's my answer. And again, Khan, you didn't answer my question. Can you prove that the earth is round? Are you here just to cause controversy? Because look, you're getting the attention that you want. So there's a reason why you want this attention. But what I'm saying is you have to think for yourself. And Hoser of Wellness, I mean, please, let them speak. You know what? If people want to do this, that's fine. This shows the type of resistance. And we shouldn't be afraid to talk about things, but talk about them in a rational way. Notice how I don't have to insult him or have to, make him feel like he's not welcome. I mean, he's not cursing at us or saying anything wrong. So programming is when you're told how to think. And they'll give you great reasonings for things and say, this is why this is the way it is. And you may believe it because it'll make sense. But my thing is saying, what is wrong with questioning things? And Khan says, I believe you, man. I believe flat earth now. Well, I thank you for your sarcasm, but if you're that easily swayed, again, look how easily you're able to be controlled. So again, without any of your own research, you're just going from one to the other. So I appreciate your trolling and I appreciate your sarcasm, but if you're that easily led, you're part of the problem, my friend, and I hope you decide to go a different way. Khan of Free Soul says, are you trolling or do you have a genuine question, Khan? Khan is obviously trolling. I mean, I can tell sarcasm. That's another thing when you've been doing this long enough. You know the difference between somebody who's asking a legitimate question and somebody that needs to be seen. It's a form of insecurity. A lot of people do that. They lash out. It's like a child who wants to get attention and can't get it by other means than just breaking a vase or screaming and crying. That's what some people do. So if you want a con, and I think con works good for your name because you're trying to con us all, but if you want to be swayed that easily, it shows how quickly you could be led. So congratulations, you're one of the people that are easily led. So what I would suggest to you, Con, is instead of believing what somebody else says, do your own research. Learn for yourself. Be able to think for yourself. Otherwise, you'll be easily swayed by somebody who says something that sounds good enough for you to believe in. And that is why I'm very glad we're talking about this, because these are the things that the average person out there is dealing with. And Delara says, no, Khan was not trolling. He's new to this. I woke him up. Well, then if you did, he has a lot more work to do. So here's the funny part. Khan says he believes you. I believe the earth is flat now. I never said the earth is flat. I said, I don't know. And I'm okay with not knowing. I'm not going to sit here and say the earth is flat, and I'm not going to sit here and say the earth is round, because other than what I've been told, I have no proof. So, Delara, if you told him so too, just keep working on him. Obviously, he's not ready to accept his own thought patterns. So, I mean, like I said, the average person out there usually is swayed by what they are told, and that's why so many people are on the Trump bandwagon. Now, I don't want Hillary. Hillary is a monster. She is a criminal. She has been part of the corrupt system. Trump is somebody that could be 100% legit, could mean everything he says, but in a corrupt system, he cannot change a thing. You can convince yourself all you want. You can make up excuses and justify things so it makes you feel better. But if you do not face the truth of what the reality of the situation is, the only person you hurt in the end is you, your friends, and your loved ones. When you are truly woken up, you no longer are afraid to question things. You no longer just see something as what you think it is. That's what magic tricks are all about, is making you believe that they're sawing a woman in half because it looks like they did, or making an elephant disappear from a stage. It's an illusion. But if you believe in that illusion, you believe in the magic and the trick. And not all magic is done with smoke and mirrors. A lot of tricks are done with words. And Autumn Leaf, you say, I agree on Trump. You are absolutely have that right to agree with Trump. I'm not here to tell you how to think. If you think Trump is going to be able to fix a corrupt system, if that makes you feel good, then go with it. What I'm telling you is you are going to be sadly disappointed. And if I'm wrong, that's fine, because if I'm wrong, then everything's hunky-dory. But if you're wrong, and Trump does become president, which I don't even think he'll get the opportunity because they won't allow him to. I mean, the media is already proving to you who they're voting for and whose side they're on. It's my thing is there's different levels of waking up. And there are people in this community that are on different levels of stages. And Dicer says, Chris, the difference with the magic act analogy is the audience doesn't even know that they are in a theater. You're right. That's very true. But even if they did, how many people know going into a magic act that it's all tricks, and yet they are still amazed by what they see? People want to believe so badly that they miss what's right in front of them, hidden in plain sight. And that's why people like me and others can point out things, and even people in this community don't want to hear them. And that's okay if I read it wrong, Autumn Leaf. That's that happens. That's the bad thing about writing words. It's sometimes hard to hear the context of the feeling behind them, but that's okay. As far as everybody's concerned, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have differences of opinions. What is not okay is when we all hurt each other and insult each other because our belief is different than somebody else's belief. Because again, in an infinite universe with infinite possibilities, there are infinite ways to go. The problem is, in this world, most people follow what other people do because it's safe that way, because you tend to not be ridiculed as much if you follow along with what others do. It takes a very strong person to be independent and can actually go against what other people see. And again, what I'm saying is you may not have the answers. I don't have all the answers. And that's why I'm glad they brought up the whole flat earth, round earth situation. I don't know either way. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the earth is absolutely flat or the earth is absolutely round, because I've never left the planet to be able to verify it. It's based on what we're told. And there's an old saying that says, tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. So how do you know? And it's the same thing with religion. It's the same thing with anything. What I'm saying is question things. Because maybe you might find out there's a different answer, or maybe you'll find out that the answer that you always knew was actually the correct one. Verification. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But until we become more independent and less reliant on other people to tell us how to think, what to eat, how to dress. I mean, I saw a video the other day, I don't know, it came into my recommendations, this comic book girl, because I used to be into comic books. I had a comic book channel. And she was talking about how the mustard color is going to be the next fashion for this fall. And to me, I find that so sad, that because somebody else said, oh, the mustard color is going to be the next in thing for fall, she's going to start wearing mustard-colored items. That's a person that's easily controlled, because somebody else is telling them, here, this is where I want you to spend your money. Even though you probably have plenty of clothes and many things that make you look good, I'm going to get you to spend more money on something that will be out of fashion in another year, so you could spend more money doing something else that we told you about. It's all about control. It's all about you going from, this is what I need, to this is what I have to have it. I have to have this new invention, this new trinket, this new gadget. I gotta fit in, because if I don't, other people will ridicule me. And that is a form of control. And that's why, as much as I would love for people like Donald Trump to change the world, I know he's not going to be able to do that in a corrupt system that is geared towards failure for 90% of the people on this planet. We keep seeing the same pattern over and over again. And Jesse Waslowski says, does a flat earth have volcanoes? How do I know? That's a very good question. The idea is you have to research and find out for yourself. Sometimes we never will get the answers. Like they say, mine is not to know the reason why. Sometimes you just can't. That's just part of life. And sometimes people are not willing to accept that maybe they may just not know the answer of something. You know, why is the sky blue? Well, maybe just because it is. We're always searching for some deeper meaning. When maybe life is just, maybe we're just here to experience life from different angles, different varieties. Maybe just that's the purpose of life. We're always trying to find this deeper meaning. Because when you search, you will always have something to search for, and it never ends. There has never been a person that searches for something that has become complete. And Khan says, do you believe God? I'm assuming you say, do you believe in God? Well, let me ask you, Khan, which God are you referring to? God is not a title. I mean, it's not a name, it's a title. Are you talking about Jesus as God? Are you talking about Satan as God? Are you talking about Aries or Venus or Mercury or Mars? Because depending on where you are born and what time you were born, your God is going to be different. So you'd have to be a little more specific. And again, that's how words control you. Because if you look at, for example, a US dollar bill, it will say, "In God we trust." Well, which God are they assuming that it is? Which is it? Because if you believe it to be the God that you assume it to be, which is a Christian God, because that's what they're making you believe it is, well, look on your dollar bill. Do you see any crosses? Any picture of Jesus? Any white man with a beard hanging on clouds? Any angels? No, but you'll see pyramids, you'll see pentagrams, you'll see the number 13, all these things that are more Satanistic. So, is that the God you're referring to? That's the problem in this world. When you assume, you're hoping that what you think something is actually what it is. And it's easily, people are misled. Like I've told people, the word bless has two meanings. The one you've been told, and the one you don't know about, unless you've watched my videos. There is another meaning for the word bless, and you could look it up. The other meaning of the word bless is to curse. Ever look up the meaning of the word conspiracy? Because people love saying, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. The word conspiracy just means when two or more people conspire to do something. It doesn't sound as scary then. Well, what about another fear tactic they love to manipulate people with because they don't know the definition? The word apocalypse. You hear it all the time. Matter of fact, it was very prevalent in the movie 2012 when they were talking about the apocalypse. What do they teach you through the programming? That it's destruction and the end. Do you know what the definition of apocalypse is? Ready? It's an unveiling. Not as scary when you actually get the meaning, but because people are so used to other people telling them how things are, and you're programmed to think apocalypse is a nuclear war or an asteroid or the earth blowing up, you believe it because you didn't take your time to become independent enough to search it out for yourself. So, Khan, I'm still waiting for your answer. Which God are you referring to? And how many of those gods, or one God, have you actually encountered on yourself? Have you met? Because Khan says, I believe Abrahamic religions, Jews, Christians, Muslims. What is it that you believe? Now, the belief means you're basing it on what other people have told you. How many of those gods have you met in person? How many of them have you seen on your own? Now, I'm not trying to discredit you. I mean, there could be all these gods. But if you've never seen them, you're basing it on faith. You're basing it on what other people have told you. That's a programming. That's entering things into a computer. It's an act. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Maybe they're all wrong or they're all right. We don't know. But I don't have a problem with somebody believing in a different God than me or somebody that doesn't believe in a God at all. The problem is we have leaders that want to murder other people because their skin color is different or their belief system is different. And we think they are not crazy. Jesse says, what's the meaning of Armageddon? Well, what I would recommend you to do is look it up and find out. The problem is we're always asking other people to do the work for us and wondering why we are so easily controlled. So it's not meant to insult you, Jess, but what I'm going to say is if you want to know the meaning of the word Armageddon, look it up, and then you will know. Seek and you shall find. In this world, we're taught to rely on others. Like for some reason, we cannot be self-sufficient. And that success is how many paper dollars you have in your wallet or your bank account. That they measure people by how many people pretend to like them, like how many followers you have on Twitter, or how many people go to your movies or listen to your songs, or respect what you have to say because you have fiat currency in your pocket. Donald Trump is where he is, not because of his wonderful, sweet personality and his caring ways. It's because of the money he has accumulated in his lifetime. What makes him better than anybody else? What makes him better than you? Because he has more green pieces of paper in his bank account? Divide and conquer works perfect to this day. It's all about hating one another because they have different beliefs, different thoughts, different locations. Just imagine your best friend, or just imagine your husband or your wife or your boyfriend and girlfriend, and just imagine if they were born at a different time, or born in a different place, or born in a different skin color, how things would have changed. Just imagine how crazy that is. The love of your life. Well, think about your mother. If she was never born in your time, your father, never born in the same place that you were, how things would be different. They're just human beings. Why do we hate one another so much? Why are people so angry just because somebody else has a different point of view? Whether I believe the earth is flat or the earth is round, why should somebody hate me for my choice to believe in something? Should I hate them because they believe in the opposite? No. And until we get past those points, we are never going to grow as a human species. We are never going to become enlightened. At least not all of us. Because to become truly enlightened and to become truly awakened, you have to let go of the anger. You have to let go of the fear. You have to let go of the just yourself and realize there's a bigger picture in life. And it's not always easy. Trust me, I know. But it's a process. Believe in your power. Know you have power. Know you have choice. Become more independent, but also become more caring. And allow people to have a belief. As long as it's not hurting others. If I was to say the earth is a triangle, or the earth is a trapezoid, or the earth is a straight line, does that affect anybody? So why do you need to hate me for it? If I believe that my God is a pipe-smoking leprechaun from the planet Bleeploid, if it doesn't hurt anybody, why should you care? And the problem is in this world, especially since the days of social media, people care so much about what other people think because it makes them feel different instead of appreciating their own individuality. Look at Trump, for example. Hillary, she's evil. That's why I don't even like to really talk about her. She's a given. She's evil. She's corrupt. We know what we're going to get from her. But look at Trump. Look at his history. Does he seem like a warm, loving, caring person who's only there to help people? Now, it doesn't mean he probably didn't do good things in his life. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, as much as you've been taught about Hitler being an evil person, I'm sure when he was a kid, he wasn't going around stabbing people. He had a woman that he loved. He had a dog that he loved, so he did care about people. So there's always good and bad in everybody, but it's that one defining moment that can define you for a lifetime. And Croco Duck Dundee, and I like the name by the way, says, I'm pretty sure there's no planet named Bleeploid. Hey, you never know. Right now, there's a bunch of Bleeploidians who are very offended that you say their planet doesn't exist. But see, there you go. You gotta sometimes laugh sometimes. So I'm not going to make this video any longer. This is what I want you guys to do. If you are truly seeking freedom, if you are truly seeking enlightenment, if you are truly tired of being alone and full of anger, then start to talk to the very people that are on this chat. Come back to this video 500 times if you have to and read the comments. And if you see somebody that's just waking up and they're alone or they're scared or they're angry or they're confused, help them out. Help show them the way. Instead of putting our hands up to block people, how about putting our hands out to hold them up and lift them up? You know, this is something we need to change. And Dre Goat says, have you seen the Hidden Colors documentary? I have not. So if you want to post a link, Not only can I see it, but other people can. And it's very true. Bleep Bloidian lives do matter. All lives matter. So until we can get rid of the divide and conquer and the separation and allow people just to believe in what they want, as long as it doesn't affect and hurt others, an opinion is just that. And see, we've already gotten our first Bleep Bloidian offended. See? Now you've done it. So thank you for the sense of humor. I appreciate that. And let's put hashtag #BleepBloidian. Somebody could create that hashtag. I've never done it before because I don't really care for that stuff. But hey, to each their own. So if you want to share this video, please do. Get more and more people that are starting to wake up to learn about this stuff and realize there are stages like anything in life. When you go to the gym for the first time, you're not going to bench press 600 pounds. It's a process. You have to build up your muscles. You have to take the time. It's going to be painful. It's going to be hurtful. It's going to be depressing. You want to give up. But once you keep going, you will always get to where you want to go. So say to yourself, look in the mirror. Where do you want to be in life? Where do you want to go? And if you're not happy where you are, what's keeping you from moving on? And you have to be honest with yourself. You could lie to everybody in the world, but you can't lie to yourself. And you could try as hard as you can. So when you're ready to finally get where you want to be, you'll go. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate everybody that took the time to listen to this. Please help me out by sharing this, posting it on your social networks. My channel is going to be, attacked all the time. YouTube is going to silence it. The number is going to be doctored. I can't do this without you. So any of you that can take the time to share these things, if you feel they're beneficial, please do. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to be a part of this channel. I may not get everything right. I may talk about controversial things, but at least I talk from the heart, unscripted. Nobody's telling me what to say or how to say. I'm not getting paid for my thoughts. I speak from the heart, and I want the most truth that I believe in. And if it resonates with you, that's a beautiful thing. And if we had more of that in this world, be less people pointing guns to each other's heads. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Be good to one another. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. But leave out the Bleep Bloidians.